Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of CCWTX Chats. As you guys know, this month we are highlighting women in leadership, and we are very lucky to have Dr. Howard with us today. So Dr. Howard, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your position.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to participate. I'm Stephanie Howard. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for Ector County ISD.
Awesome. So I feel like a lot of the times, like, we know that ECISD and school districts have like administration roles, but what does your kind of day-to-day look like?
Well, definitely in roles such as this, every day looks different, and many days you may have a schedule and it's planned, but then it doesn't go as planned at all. So it's definitely a very flexible schedule and position, and we have to adapt and be able to change our plans, you know, when it's necessary. So, but the typical day and week for us revolves around, you know, we have meetings related to decisions that need to be made, visiting campuses, working with the teams that we work with, and you know, the best part of our week and our days are when we get to be on campus with students, teachers, and principals.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you guys obviously have a lot going on right now, so I do appreciate you joining with us today for this. So tell us a little bit about what led you to the role you're in now, maybe a little bit about your educational background or what you started off doing, you know, when you were younger, just a little bit about your background.
A little bit about me. I grew up in a small town, Robert Lee, near San Angelo, and my dad was a teacher and a coach. Mom worked in the school system. She drove a bus. She worked in the cafeteria, custodian, pretty much whatever the school district needed. That's how small schools operate. And so growing up in the education family, I was determined not to be a teacher. You know, that's what everyone thought, you know, you're going to be a teacher. And so it wasn't that I didn't like teaching, and it wasn't that, you know, that was our life. But when you're 17, you're determined to do something different. And so I actually went to Tarleton State University near Fort Worth and majored in marketing and business. And about my sophomore year, I had a professor I really enjoyed, and I thought, you know, I think I want to be a teacher. And so at that point, I switched over to teaching, and have loved every minute of it. So I had the opportunity coming out of college to do my student teaching, and did that in Big Spring at the high school, and student taught English, and then worked with speech with UIL speaking events. My teaching certificates are English and then public communications. And so back at that time, it wasn't required to take a communications course in high school, so I had to figure out how to get those hours. And then graduated in December, and so my first opportunity was in Stanton to be a teacher and a coach. And so not only was I not going to be a teacher, you know, at 17, I decided that, but I wasn't going to coach. And so now my first job is teaching and coaching, and, you know, great experience, loved every minute of that. Then I wanted to move into, you know, district or to the principalship, wanted to start working on my master's. And so I was teaching and coaching 3 sports, and also had the cheerleaders. And so made the decision to relocate. And at that point, I moved to Midland and was a teacher while I began working on my master's. Had opportunities in Midland for 14 years. I was an assistant principal, then the instructional services director at Lee High School, moved on to San Jacinto Junior High to be principal, and then had the opportunity to go back to Lee for 6 years as the principal. At that time, I was ready to move into a district leadership role, wanted the opportunity to serve and you know, work at the district level and support campuses and principals and teachers in doing great work for students. And so had the opportunity to come to Ector County ISD back in 2013, I believe it was. So I worked here for a couple of years as executive director for curriculum and instruction before having the opportunity to go to Plains and serve as the superintendent of schools there. So Spent 3.5 years in Plains. Great opportunity, a great district and board to work with, and we did some really good things for the district there. Added advanced placement coursework, which we had never had. Expanded our dual credit offerings, improved literacy at the elementary level, and just did went avid district wide, actually pre-K through 12. And then about a year and almost 2 years ago, had the opportunity to come back here in the role that I'm in. And that was definitely a great transition back for our family. Have a daughter at Permian and then one at Hayes STEAM Academy. And so it's been a great transition back and a great opportunity to work with this leadership team.
Wow, you have just like ran through your career and just really have such an extensive background with education. And so far, you've come so far in your career, and I think that's amazing. And one thing that I've been talking about with the other people that we've highlighted is kind of like what kept you driven all those years, and like what inspired you to kind of get where you are.
So entering my 25th year in education, and wow, it doesn't seem like that. I talked about Big Spring student teaching, Stanton. Seems like it was just yesterday. And when you start counting back, you literally have to start counting back to know when you were where, because it doesn't seem like that long ago. And then you're like, that was 10 years ago, that was 15 years ago. And you run into students that, if they call me coach, I know they're from Stanton. I know, but when you run into them from different schools, sometimes you have to remember, when they're 25 years old, which school was it that you attended. But, what's kept me driven is working with teams of people that are passionate about education. Yeah. And, when you do work, when you do that work day in and day out with people that are motivated and passionate, and you feel like you're making a difference, every day getting up to come to work is not like work. In fact, in our business, we say, I'm going to school. You don't, and you'll catch yourself and you're like, well, really, I'm not going to school, but that's still kind of what we do. And, so just doing good work and having, the mission to help students and serve students and give our teachers and principals great environments in which they can do their work. That's a lot of fun. And so when it's fun, it doesn't seem like work day in and day out.
Definitely. And I can attest to that too. When you enjoy your team that you work with and you feel like you're making an impact, it doesn't feel as much as work as it does an enjoyment part of your life. Yeah. So if you could go back and give advice to, say, like your middle school age self and think about you back then, what kind of advice would you give yourself at the time?
Yeah. Wow, that was really a long time ago, because I've been out of high school almost 30 years. So, I think the thing, and I've seen this quote, on Twitter or LinkedIn, that says, don't worry about what people think about you, because they really aren't thinking that much about you. But in middle school, you feel like everyone is thinking something. They're wondering why I'm wearing these pants, or, they think my hair looks funny or whatever. And, as you grow older, you realize they probably aren't thinking anything at all about your hair. But as a middle school student, you're so self-conscious, and you really think that, if there's 30 people in the room, you think all 30 of them are thinking about you and what you look like and what you're wearing and what you said. And in the grand scheme of things, they probably really aren't thinking about you much at all.
Yeah. I think that is good advice. And I've actually heard some similar piece of advice from someone who is in a leadership role at my organization. And I think that is really, really good advice. People really aren't thinking about you as much as you think that they are.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I think that that's great. So my next question for you is, who has inspired you most in your life and why?
Yeah. Wow, that's hard to pick one person. Do I have to pick one?
No, as many as you'd like.
So, I'll have to start with my mom. My mother didn't graduate from high school, and but went on to work every day and make sure that when we came home, we had, a meal on the table. And what I struggle with as a working mom sometimes, I come home and throw something together. She always seemed to have everything taken care of. and was always encouraging about, doing more and having opportunities. So that definitely was encouraging. My dad, was the other person I mentioned. He was in the education business for 36 years. He taught and coached, and he taught me dedicated and determined, and then taking pride in your work.
Yeah.
Dad was one of those that said, if you're going to do something, do it right, so you don't have to redo it. And don't ever put your name on something that you can't be proud of. And so that was definitely inspirational. And then over the years, I worked with some great leaders, in the profession, that just really taught me how I wanted to be and lead, and invested in me in a way that has allowed me to move into the positions that I'm in. No one gets anywhere without people that mentor them and coach them and give them opportunities to be successful and be ready for that next opportunity.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. It's so important to have those people in your life that are just always there to push you forward and not hold you back or keep you where you are. So that's great. So my last question for you is, do you do any type of self-care or things to keep yourself avoiding burnout? I know in my job and your job too, it's high stress. And how do we avoid burnout and how do we take care of ourselves?
So for one, I think I have a very high stress tolerance, and stress, deal with that. But one thing that I do, I've found over the years that if I don't work out in the morning, by the time I get home in the evenings, I'll find 5 excuses not to. So I get up early every morning and do a workout before I come to work. And that's time for me. It makes me feel better once I do it, that I'm able to be more productive at work. But it's just that opportunity to get up and take care of myself and get my workout in, so that I can then be, you have to be fit and healthy to be able to do a good job at work. And so that's something I've tried to prioritize over the years. And throughout my career in different positions, you have to adjust when that workout time is going to be. But that's something that I stay very committed to, and at least 5 days a week I do that, and that's my way of taking care of myself.
Yeah, and I'm the exact same way. If I don't wake up early and get my run in, there's 100% no way I'm doing it in the evening.
Right. And not to, when it's 102 or 3,
yep.
That's not very productive either, to go try to run in that temperature.
Yeah, totally. And then also with people staying inside more nowadays, it's so important to just even get out and walk, right? Just spend some time outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Howard, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your life and some little pieces of wisdom. I know we appreciate everything that ECISD is doing right now and all of the stress that you guys are under. So I just want to say thank you so much for being with this today with us. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the work and the people that you serve in our communities.
Awesome. Well, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.